guys, today I want to talk to you about the 7 most generous housing grants in America, and we are going to go way deeper than Section 8 in today's video. There are so many different grant programs out there, and most people just don't know about these. So today we're going to be talking about federal programs that provide thousands of dollars in assistance, different state and local grants that you may never have heard of before, special programs for seniors and veterans, little-known homeownership opportunities, and even one program that could pay off your entire mortgage under specific circumstances. So I hope you'll stay with us because there's all sorts of information that we're going to be covering here today. Now, that being said, I do want to start with Section 8, and I hope you'll forgive me because I know a lot of you already know about this, but for those of you that don't, this program is amazing. It provides a monthly rent subsidy that usually drops your rent so that you're only paying 30% of your adjusted monthly income toward your housing costs, which can be huge. The rest of the rent is paid by a voucher that comes from the PHA directly to your landlord. And it's really cool because unlike public housing, you can choose where you live as long as you find a landlord that's going to accept that voucher. That gives you a lot more flexibility, helps you find housing that's actually going to meet your family's needs. Now, of course, there are quality requirements and things like that. You may be eligible if you have a household income that is 50% of your area median income or less. Other PHAs may have stricter requirements. It just depends on where you live. Generally, you have to be a U.S. citizen or have eligible immigration status. You have to be able to pass a background screening, and some PHAs may give priority to seniors, veterans, people experiencing homelessness, that sort of thing, and wait lists, unfortunately, can be very long for this program. Now, what you may not know about Section 8 is that it also has a hidden pathway to homeownership, right? This is really exciting to me, and most people don't know about this. So some public housing authorities have expanded Section 8 so that you can use those vouchers toward your mortgage payments. So the first thing you need to do if you're interested is contact your local PHA or public housing agency to inquire about the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program. You can also ask them if they have a homeownership component to that. Then you need to submit your application, but you should be prepared for wait lists on this one because some areas do have extended waiting periods, and sometimes you even have to wait to apply. So with that in mind, just look up the number for your local public housing agency to get started. Now let's talk about those other programs that aren't as well known. Now, state and local down payment assistance programs are amazing. I've actually used one of these myself, and it made it possible for us to buy our first home, which was awesome. So the first question you may have is who qualifies for this? Most programs define first time as not having owned a home in the past 3 years. So if you owned a home 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever, you may still qualify as a first-time home buyer, even if you have previously owned your own home, as long as enough time has passed. You also need to meet income limits. Typically, you're going to see that they want people who are earning 120% of the area median or less, sometimes 100%, sometimes 80%. Those caps just depend on which program you're applying for. There are dozens, if not hundreds, of these programs out there. So the exact limits are going to vary based on your location and the program. And also, you can only qualify for these if that home is going to be your primary residence. I don't think that's an issue for any of you on this channel. I know getting one good home is kind of life goals for a lot of us. But for people who are investors or trying to get second homes, they can't use these programs. They're only for people who are going to be living in the homes that they buy. Now, there are additional special programs for teachers, first responders, healthcare workers, and veterans, and more. We're not going to dive into all the details on those, but if you're interested in seeing us expound on that in another video, feel free to let us know. These down payment assistance programs typically offer $5,000, sometimes much more. I've seen them as high as $40,000 toward the purchase of your home price. And some very local programs have gone higher than that. It just depends. Generally, the higher the amount is, the harder it's going to be to qualify for, either in terms of you have to live in a very specific area or you have to meet very specific requirements to cover that. But I have seen loads of them that offer between $5,000 to $10,000. And that's for the grants. Sometimes they also offer what they call a forgivable loan, which is essentially a grant as long as you meet the terms of it. Some of them will be like, okay, well, we'll give you $5,000 toward your down payment assistance as long as you live in the house for 5 years. And then that loan is attached as basically a silent second mortgage, and then every year a portion of the balance just kind of disappears. That was how ours was structured when we got one, and we lived in the house for 3 years before we moved. And so we had 3 years of forgiveness and then just had to pay the remaining 2-year equivalency when we made the sale. I know down payments can be a huge barrier to home ownership, and these programs make it so much easier. Sometimes they can 100% cover the out-of-pocket costs that you may have had when you try to purchase a home. So I wanted you guys to know about these. We have done our best to put a huge list of these on our website because I know they can be hard to track down. So start by looking at either our website or the Housing Finance Agency website or local programs in your city or county. Sometimes they're actually offered by your city or county. Most of these programs are going to require you to complete some sort of homebuyer education course in order to qualify. Those are really helpful anyway. So if you're considering buying a house, I would highly recommend that anyway. And then you usually have to work through one of the lenders that's allowed to work with that program. Sometimes they have really specific lists. Now let's talk about the USDA Section 504 home repair program. This is amazing for rural homeowners because they can offer you grants of up to $10,000 if you're a senior over the age of 62, or they can offer you a loan of up to $40,000 with just 1% interest. So that is huge. Now, in order to qualify for this, you need to meet the very low income requirement, which means your income must be at or below 50% of the area median income for your area. You also need to own and occupy the home as your primary residence. It must be located in a rural area as defined by the USDA, and you must not be able to obtain affordable credit through other sources. Grants under this program are exclusive to homeowners over the age of 62. Younger homeowners can still access the loans though. So either way, this program is very beneficial. So if you choose to do the loans can be up to $40,000 and they have a 20-year repayment period at a 1% interest rate. The grants are worth $10,000 and those are usually for hazard removal or safety issues, okay? That's a combined total of up to $50,000 in assistance though. And if you're in a declared disaster area, those caps increase a little bit and you can actually get up to $55,000 in certain circumstances. Now, the money from these grants can be used for roof repair or roof replacement, heating and cooling system upgrades, electrical system improvements, plumbing repairs and upgrades, accessibility modifications like ramps or widening your doorways, mold remediation and removal, foundation repairs, safety hazard elimination like lead paint, asbestos, things like that, as well as well and septic system repairs. So that's huge. However, the grant portion of this is limited to removing health and safety hazards. Cosmetic upgrades do not qualify, and the loan funds typically have more flexibility. If you're not sure what your specific repairs that you need would be classified as, I would encourage you to look into this anyway, just to see if it is a possible option for you, because it's just such a wonderful program. Now, if you're interested in applying for this, you need to find your USDA Rural Development Office and schedule an appointment. They'll walk you through the eligibility requirements and the application process and so on. Then they'll go through the pre-qualification steps. You need to submit all of your documentation, including your income verification, property ownership documents, contractor estimates, all sorts of stuff. And then you can submit your application. They do accept applications year-round on a first-come, first-served basis, but funding may be limited at certain times of the year. If you're not sure what office to call, there is a link and a phone number right down there that should be able to help you figure that out. Okay, now we're going to talk about the HUD Older Adults Home Modification Program. This program provides free home modifications to help seniors remain safe and independent in their homes. And it can do so many things for you. So for this program, you have to be 62 years old or older. You need to live in a target service area as determined by local program grantees. So again, this is one of those things where HUD gives the grants to certain organizations, and then the organizations decide what the service areas are and things like that. Most of these programs do serve very low or low income households, although those exact income limits may also vary depending on location. And you need to either own your home or rent with written landlord permission. You need to be able to prove that your landlord supports the planned modifications if you're going to pursue this as a renter. Now, this program can help you with grab bars and railings, ramps and accessibility, walk-in showers, improved lighting, non-slip flooring, fall prevention upgrades, all sorts of things like that. And these modifications are provided completely free with no repayment required. This program exists solely to help older adults remain safely in their homes, which is fantastic. Now, in order to apply for this, it is a little bit complicated because, like I said, that funding goes from HUD to local organizations. So you need to figure out what nonprofit, city agency, or program in your area has received this funding. There is a way to do this if you go to the HUD website and you try to find that grantees list or the press release where they're announcing those grantees. One of the easier ways is probably just to call the elder care locator line to see if there's any options in your area that can assist you with home repairs. And then they will tell you from there who you need to talk to, and then they can tell you how to apply to access those funds. If you have a veteran in your household, there are all sorts of different programs offered by the VA that can assist you with home expenses as well. These are amazing. I know I keep saying that, but I love these programs that help so much. So they have two different types of grants we're going to talk about today. They actually have more than this, but we're going to do that in a separate video on the Fast Facts channel. So the Specially Adapted Housing Grant serves veterans with the most severe service-connected disabilities. You have to own or be in the process of owning the home and have one of these qualifying conditions, either loss of or loss of use of more than one limb, loss of or loss of use of one leg, together with other complications like balance, severe burn injuries, blindness in both eyes, or post 9/11 loss or loss of use of one or more extremities, but those are somewhat limited. Now, there are a couple of different programs here. Mostly today we're going to be talking about the Specially Adapted Housing and the Special Housing Adaptation Grants. Now, I realize those are hard to distinguish because they're basically the same words, right? So you have the SAH and the SHA grants here. The SAH grant is for veterans with the most severe service-connected disabilities, such as the loss of use of more than one limb, severe burns or blindness, things like that. The SHA grant serves veterans with qualifying disabilities that are a little bit more flexible than what the SHA grant may cover. Now, if you qualify for SAH, that program can provide up to $121,812 in the current fiscal year. For SHA, the maximum is going to be $24,405. Both of these programs can be used in up to 6 installments over your lifetime. So you don't have to use the full balance. You can draw from it multiple times if you need to. Now, they also have a program for temporary residence adaptation, which if you're temporarily living with family, then they may be able to help adapt your family member's home to make it more accommodating for you. That's a separate program called TRA. No matter which one of these programs you're interested in, the application process is basically the same. You need to go to va.gov, log in with your VA online account, or if you prefer, you can apply over the mail or in person, but that tends to be a little bit more tedious. If you are doing building or you're substantially renovating, the VA may need to review some sort of builder's bids or plans to make sure that they meet the program requirements. There may be other things involved as you move throughout that process, but it all begins at va.gov. Specifically, go to the home loans page and search for specially adapted housing to get access to that in the portal. Now, another program that I love is the Gradient Gives Back Foundation. This organization provides up to 12 months of housing payments, which is huge, right? So this is open to U.S. families in hardship through no fault of their own. So situations like medical emergencies, job loss, unexpected disasters, something that was outside of your control that caused you to have a hard time. Now, you also have to live in a community where the foundation has an active partner organization. They don't publish that list, which is super frustrating. But they do encourage all people to apply, and then if they're able to serve you, they will do their best. The big deal with this is that your story matters the most. There are no hard and fast income guidelines. It's very flexible. The foundation wants to understand your situation and serve those who have compelling stories. So you need to make sure that you're prepared to share what's going on in your application, explaining any hardships that you faced and how housing assistance would help your family recover and set you up for future success. Like I said, they can cover up to 12 months of housing payments. All of those payments go directly to your landlord or your lender. They will not give you money directly. If you're interested in this, you need to go to gradientgivesback.com. Please be careful. Do not give your information on any other website. You want to make sure you're on the official source for this. Then you need to complete the initial application. It only takes about 10 minutes. If that initial application is selected to move forward, they will send you a more detailed application that you'll need to fill out, and you will also need to participate in virtual meetings, things like that. And then if you're selected, it'll move on from there. You need to understand that thousands of people apply for this, but only a small number can be selected each cycle. So please remember that this isn't a guarantee, but it is an option for an incredible amount of housing relief. So I wanted to make sure that you were aware of this as we got started. Now, here is the one that can pay off your home entirely under certain circumstances. The organization Tunnels to Towers has an incredible program called the Fallen First Responder Program. And what they do is they pay off the mortgages of first responders and military personnel who are killed in the line of duty. I have seen this organization step up in communities that have experienced these kinds of just horrible situations, and I love what this organization does. Now, this is the one that can pay off an entire mortgage under certain circumstances. Tunnels to Towers operates the Fallen First Responder Program, which very generously pays off the mortgages for first responders who are killed in the line of duty, whether they're law enforcement officers, firefighters, paramedics, emergency medical technicians, military service members. If they are catastrophically injured, if they die, then the mortgage can be completely paid for. If they're catastrophically injured, then they may also be able to receive adaptive housing as well to make their home more accommodating for their disabilities. Now, in order to be eligible, that fallen first responder needs to have had dependent children, and their spouse needs to not be divorced or separated, things like that. There's family requirements involved. And like I said, they can either pay off that mortgage entirely, can also provide adaptive housing if a first responder is severely injured in the line of duty as well. If you know someone who may be eligible for this, you need to go to the Tunnels to Towers website. You can apply on your own behalf or nominate a deserving family. You will need to gather documentation proving that line of duty death or catastrophic injury. You will also need to submit the complete application, and then they have to review it and go on from there. But you can get started with all of that on their website. Now, as I was doing this, I had one more thought that I think will be useful to you guys because we've had a lot of people asking questions about this. If you are having a hard time with your housing payments because you've recently been diagnosed with cancer, there are all sorts of organizations that can step up and help with housing grants during that experience. One example is the Pink Fund, which can provide up to $3,000 over a 90-day period to help with housing costs and other expenses if you are in active treatment. Now, there are other grants and resources that may be able to assist you as well, and we have a list of those on our website, which we'll link down below if you're interested in exploring those options. I hope this has been helpful to you. Thanks for watching, and I will be back tomorrow with more ways that you can save money and get free